Okay, so we have our drain pan under our outboard lower unit now. You have two plugs. You have the top level plug, and then you'll have the bottom drain and fill plug. You always want to fill from the bottom up to the top till it runs out. So what you want to do is you always want to break your plugs loose. You always want to start, make sure you can get this one loose and then get this one loose. So a handy trick I've learned, if you can't break it loose, if you have a square shank screwdriver, is to put a small crescent wrench on the handle and use the wrench for leverage to pop it loose. Now, a little secret I've learned, was taught by a customer of mine years ago, is pull your bottom plug out first and leave that top plug in. What that does, it's like having your finger over a straw. It'll prevent a lot of that oil from gushing out at you. You can see how it's just barely dribbling out. Now when we take this top plug loose and it can get some air, there we go. Now we got a nice steady stream. So we're going to let this drain. This outboard hasn't been serviced. It's been sitting for about 10 years, hadn't ran. We put a carburetor kit in it and cleaned the fuel system, new fuel hose, new tank. Gonna run some AMSOIL PI. Boy, that gear oil smells pretty rank. But we're gonna get this thing ready to go on the water today, and we're gonna go over a few other tips for you here at John's Oil's Garage to get your boat and trailer out on the water. We're gonna do a light check. We upgraded this boat trailer last year with LED lights, and we installed all new wheel bearings and packed them with AMSOIL water resistant grease. I like to, before I take a trip or have a customer go on a trip, pop the bearings and just check, make sure we didn't get any water intrusion. We have the bearing buddies on these hubs, and a lot of times they get over greased and push the back seal out. So want to check all that out before a customer makes a long trip out on the road. Thank you. Be right back. Alright everybody, we're back. We've let this gearbox drain for about 15 minutes. It's good and dripped out. Now we're going to refill with AMSOIL Marine Gear Lube SAE 75W90. It's going to protect against wear from water contamination and combat the effects of cavitation in high performance boats. This little 15 horse isn't high performance, but it can use all the protection it can get. It's a fishing boat, so you can get fishing line wrapped up around the prop, get some water intrusion, so we need all the protection we can get. On the left we have the AMSOIL new Easy Pack. It's a squeeze pack, so you can use that on the larger outboards where you need 30 ounces to 32 or more. The Marine Gear Lube on the right is a 10-ounce squeeze tube. We'll cut the tip off and screw it into the lower port there, and we'll squeeze that in till it runs out the top. Once it runs out the top, I like to put that top plug in while my tube's still inserted in the bottom, and that will act like that straw again, creating a vacuum, and then I can pull the plug out and quick stick the lower plug in. So let's get the packages ready to install. As you can see, we did achieve the fill. It came out the top with 10 ounces. I've already put the bottom plug in. Sorry I couldn't show that. I couldn't do it with one hand. Maybe when this boat comes back in for the next service, I'll have somebody here in the garage that can help us film this. But I just wanted to kind of give you a quick and easy example of how easy it is to change your own lower unit lube. Most of these small 15 horse 9.9s will take one 10-ounce squeeze tube. Larger 25 horse and up, you might want to grab one of the quart Easy Packs to do the job. Alrighty, now let's move on to the wheel bearings. Alright, we're back. Now the next thing we're going to do is use a little bit of the AMSOIL synthetic water resistant grease. This grease is rated for wheel bearings and wet applications. Works great on snowmobiles, watercraft, ATVs, marine engines, boat motor trailer or boat trailers. On the outboards, a lot of people neglect, a lot of times on your tiller here or on your outboard where it pivots, you'll have a grease zerk. it's good to hit that with the AMSOIL grease. What we do is we like to mark our grease gun marine, so we're going to give this Zerk a couple shots and then we're going to move on to the bearing buddies. Okay, we're going to move on to the wheel bearing check here. So when you jack up your boat trailer or your automobile, you always want to put a good sturdy jack underneath. 6 tons a little overkill for this little trailer, but it's handy and it's a good tall stand. Now the first thing I like to do is just give it a spin. It's quiet, it's smooth. When we did this last year, it had been setting for a long time and it had water in the bearings from the previous season, and it sounded like you were grinding marbles or something. It was pretty gnarly sounding, so that's a good sign. So we're going to pop off this bearing buddy and just see if we have any water sitting in there, if we had any seals compromised. But again, the bearing buddies are great, but you don't want to over grease them. When we do a bearing service, we take the bearings out and we either wash them with solvent and clean them and inspect them, or in this case, we knew we had bad bearings. We put new ones in, installed a new grease seal, packed the bearings by hand, put some grease in the hub, then gave the bearing buddies a little bit of grease just to kind of help seal this outer part to make sure it didn't have any water intrusion. So we'll get right back. We're going to grab a hammer and tap this buddy off. Okay, so we got our bearing buddy ready to come off here. We're just going to tap it side to side with the hammer. Works better as anything. Don't have to get violent with it. Just tap it and kind of work it out till it's loose. Then it'll pull out. So what we're looking for is inside the cap, any water. Rotate the hub. We don't see any water coming out of this one. Last year when we pulled the hub off, the grease was all creamy and milky looking, brown and full of rust. So this is a good sign. Since we just packed these and they've only got about 1,500, 2,000 miles on them, we're gonna just reassemble it. And good idea when you're going down the road on any trailer, boat trailer, car trailer, cargo trailer, is every time you stop to get gas, get food, go to the restroom, get out and put your fingers on your hub immediately after you stop and just do a touch test. Don't hold it on there, it could be hot, but the hub should not even really be much over your skin temperature after going down the road, especially synthetic greases. We keep the temperatures cooler. So if you check that temperature every time you stop, if you got a problem, this is going to be hot. And if it's hot, you got a problem, so it's good to seek out a mechanic or address it yourself if you have the tools and the capability. But just a good little safety tip, keep you from breaking down along the highway or the interstate. So simple little finger check and move on to the next one. Check all 2, 4, 6, however many axles you got, but it'll keep you on the road and keep you running smooth. All right, thank you.